Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Why I Got My Butt Kicked. In this episode, the person I played my first few matches against, Klepty, has given me some feedback about the first video on this channel, the army build video. And he had a little bit of a critique of some of the things I said, and I wanted to raise his points because he has been playing this mod, Tellurian, a lot longer than I have. He knows a lot more than I do, and his points are definitely valid. So, let's go through what he had to say. First off, he says, Level 1s aren't useless because of how fast you get to level 2. Ideally, a level 1 rush would stop the enemy from reaching level 2, or at least slow them down. The problem is that level 1s just aren't cost effective versus henchmen, and if your opponent puts up a sound barrier tower, you're basically down for. And as you saw, they do pretty much nothing against solid level 2s. I completely agree with this. Yes, he is right. The reason that level 1s are useless, it's a little more complicated than just because you get to level 2 quickly. Yes, the problem is, a henchman may very well be able to beat up this Coyote Owl 1v1. Even if he can't, even if it is a little, it takes 2 henchmen, let's say, this Coyote Owl costs just about the same as a henchman, but he can't gather coal, he can't build your lightning rod, he's just not as good. So I would agree that it's a little more nuanced than just because of how fast you get to level 2. He makes a good point here. Yes, in the old version, in Insect Invasion, you could build Koyagons, which were Koi Piorns, I believe they were called, Coyote Scorpions. I can combine one right here real quick to show you guys. Back then they were a lot cheaper. They only cost like 70 coal. They looked like this. See, now they're level 2. Now you can't even get them at level 1. But back then they were like 76 coal, and they were a lot faster to produce because they were level 1. You could also build them like this. You could do front or back legs of a coyote. But the point was scorpion head, scorpion legs. Yes, this is not viable in this build anymore. This was a strong unit, but now it's level 2, as it probably should be. And that's why level 1 isn't that effective anymore. Now, his next critique. 233 coal isn't too much for the Dolphin. Actually, that unit is pretty decent. It's a little high on electricity, but as long as you have a couple upgraded gens, you should do okay with it. So yes, 110 electricity, as he's saying, is a little bit expensive. He's saying 233 coal is not that bad. Now, currently, what I've replaced that guy with, if I can find him here, I believe, yes, it's this Dolphin Wolf. Let's compare the two. That's what I have in my current army. There will be another video coming soon where I will show you guys the army I built. So this Dolphin Wolf, I use it over the Ox currently. They're both level 3. It's got a little bit less health and less defense. It is faster, but only in water, which isn't a huge deal. In melee, they're pretty much equal. It does a little bit less sonic attack, and it has Pack Hunter as opposed to Herding. That's really the main reason I switched. I guess the 37 coal is not as big of a deal as I was making it out to be. It does seem like a bigger deal because you go from 196 to 233, but in the grand scheme of things, 37 coal is not that much. So yeah, I would agree that the Dolphin Ox is pretty valuable, and like I was saying in my previous video, of the units in my initial army, it was definitely one of the best. But I do prefer the Wolf version at this point. Anyways, moving right along. As for your level 3 melee, 200 electricity is more than I'd be willing to pay at level 3. There are units that are just as good for far less. Additionally, there's a bug regarding units with both Pack Hunter and Herding. They don't get the Herding bonus. The ability just does nothing. We've removed the charge for herding on such units in 2.4 though, so they're still totally okay to use. Just keep in mind that they won't get the defensive bonus. So, herding here is doing literally nothing for us. We're not getting a defensive bonus because it's being overridden by Pack Hunter. That kind of blows. This unit is pretty cool. But I suppose it is quite expensive in electricity. Now, for me, I was generally finding that I was coal limited in my first few matches, but I have gotten a lot better at coal management. And so, in my most recent games, I would agree that 200 electricity for a level 3 unit is a bit too much. I think I was leaning towards it because of my poor coal game in my early games. But now that I have a little more experience, I do think this unit is a tad expensive on electricity. However, I don't think it's a bad unit. Keen Sense, as you will see in one of the videos, actually worked pretty well. And with horns, you actually do a lot more than 20 melee damage because you're ignoring a lot of defense. So, I think this unit is still pretty decent, but it's probably not as good as I made it out to be. Next up, his next comment is about the Mooserfish. Back in the day, Mooserfish used to be decent level 5 artillery, but since it got moved down to level 4, it's kind of underwhelming. Typically, your level 4 artillery should be able to compete with level 5s. Not a terrible unit, but rather mediocre. Try the Hyena/Beluga instead. So, as he says, let's go ahead and grab a Hyena Beluga and take a look. Now, I assume, there it is, that the build for a Hyena Beluga is as such, with a hyena body. Let's go ahead and compare the two. So, the Moose has a ton more health, a little bit more damage, but it also a heck of a lot more expensive. Now remember, with the damage, the Beluga Hyena gets Pack Hunter. So, that's going to be quite a bit more damage. I believe it actually will be more than the 9 that the Moose is doing. So you lose out on a little bit of health. I mean, 100 health is actually a lot of health, but it's a ranged unit, so ideally you're not getting into melee. And 50 coal is pretty significant, even at level 4. I mean, I don't think he was saying that the Mooserfish is a bad unit, just mediocre, and based on these stats, I would agree that the Hyena Beluga is a little better, because it does give us more damage, thanks to Pack Hunter, and also due to the fact that we can have more of them on the field at a time. So, overall, I would agree with him and say that the Hyena is better. Now, his last comment. The rest looks decent. I'll say, though, that your army wasn't really the reason you lost those games we played, except for maybe the first one. And I would definitely agree with that. The next couple of videos I put out will be breakdowns of the matches I had with Klepty, and I agree that I lost for a wide variety of reasons, not just because of my army. Maybe it was part of it, especially the ones where I was trying to use a lot of coyote owls or a lot of chameleon wolves. Yeah, I do still like the hyena gon, but I agree that the wart lioness is a little expensive. Anyhow, I hope you liked this video. I will put out some more battle videos as soon as I can. Until then, have a good one.